Okay, so now we're going to introduce how to use functions and formulas and the copy and paste things in Excel. So let's say we have a table here. So what's this table? This table is a very basic multiplication table, or in Chinese we call it 九九乘法表. Okay, so what's this? In each row or each column, we get a number, and at the cell, at the intersection, we get its multiplication or the product. Okay, 4 times 3 is 12, and 2 times 5 is 10, something like that. So I'm going to use this example to demonstrate several things, and I'm going to create this table from scratch. Okay, so how to do that? I can say, okay, I want to have this 1 times 1, okay, which is 1, and then 1 times 2, which is 2, etc. I can repeat this process for 25 times, and then I have the complete table. So of course, that's too tedious, so I may try something. For example, I may try copy and paste my formula. What does that mean? So here, I have this particular cell. I can copy this guy and then paste it somewhere else. We can see that I'm not copying the value, I'm copying the formula. Okay, so here, this guy is A2 times B1. So A2 is here, B1 is here. For the copying and pasting, I'm going to get B2 times C1. Of course, because I'm creating this multiplication table, so this seems to be something wrong. What I should have should be A2 times C1, okay, instead of B2 times C1. So what should I do? What I should do is to use the dollar sign to control the copy and paste process. But before that, I'm going to try something else. So when I have a formula here, in many cases, I would put my cursor here, and when it becomes a black cross, I can scroll it somewhere to the right or to the bottom. That's allowing me to do formula copy and paste like this. Okay, when I do that, all this is just like copying this formula and paste it here, paste it here, paste it here, paste it here. I don't need to do 1 copy and 4 pasting. All I need to do is to just scroll it down. Or when I have 5 things here, I can scroll it everywhere. I will be doing copy and paste, copy and paste. But of course, I need to make sure that I am doing the using the right cells. Okay, so what I should do is to use the dollar sign. What does that mean? When I scroll to the right, what I should do is that I should make sure that A2 is always there. Okay, so that means when I do this, this should be A2 times C1. This should be A2 times D1. So what I should do is here, I'm going to point to A2. And then I'm going to type or press my F4, okay? I'm going to see several dollar signs when I press my F4. I'm not sure whether it also works in Mac. If it does not, don't worry. You can just type dollar signs by yourself, okay? So let's say I have 2 dollar signs. If I do that, then when I scroll it to the right, I'm going to see, oh, the result looks good. And here, this guy becomes A2. This guy is also A2, okay? A2 is fixed because I set dollar sign there. As long as I set a dollar sign there, then that particular formula will have that particular cell or reference fixed, while others, this D1 is not fixed, so that's why it still changes. So here, I'm having 5 correct cells. I scroll it down. Something is wrong. So we can see this guy. This guy should be A4 times D1, okay? But it is not. So we can see that this A2 is still fixed there. So there is something wrong. We need to fix it. And also this D3 should not be D3. It should be D1, right? So we need to do several things. So first, for this A1, so for this A2 thing, when we scroll to the right, we need to keep it to be A2, okay? This should be A2 times B1. This should be A2 times C2. But when we scroll it down, 2 should become 3. 3 should become 4. So here we need to take away this particular dollar sign so that we fix A. So when we change columns, when we copy this formula to other columns, A is still A. But when we copy this formula to other rows, 2 becomes 5, 2 becomes 7, according to the relative position. And for B is similar, but for B, for the column thing, what we should do is to fix this particular number, 1. When we copy this formula to other cells, if we copy to other columns, that's going to, the B will change to other columns. But when we to other rows, 1 will still be 1. Okay? So now we are almost done. When we scroll to the right, we can see B becomes D, becomes E, becomes F. But when we scroll down like this, okay, then we can see for this one is indeed A4 times D1, right? Because 4, the row reference is allowed to change. And here, D, the column reference is allowed to change. That's how we get this particular multiplication table, by correctly using the dollar sign. So by the way, when we want to copy formulas, in many cases we use this black cross and scroll down. But there is a quick thing you may do if you want. So let's see how to do this. I can just move it here and double click. When I double click, it's going to do this scroll down thing up to which is considered as the end of your table. So this can be very useful if you have a very huge table like this. Okay, just double click. For rows, you cannot do that. So typically what I do is that I first complete the first row and then double click. That's going to save you some time. So lastly, there is something called paste special, because here we are doing formulas. So if we do it somewhere else, we just cannot get values. We always, by default in Excel, we do copy and paste, and that applies to formulas. So if I want to have their numbers instead of formulas, what I can do is to do this right click, and here we have values. Or in general, we do paste special. I click on it, I can say, oh, I want values. Or I want formats, comments, validation, whatever. I typically just use values because this is the most useful thing when I do paste special. Okay, then I get values. You can see here that they are indeed values. They are not formulas anymore. Okay. Or sometimes I need to do something that is, I need to, for example, change columns to rows, change rows to columns like this. Suppose I have a 2x5 matrix or 2x5 table. Here I can first paste value. And then I can transpose it, this one, transpose. If I do transpose, that's going to reverse rows and columns. Rows becomes columns, column becomes rows. That can sometimes be useful. So there are many other things in paste special. I suggest you to try them by yourself, or at least you memorize. We have values, we have transpose. Sometimes you want to skip blanks. That can also be very useful. So try it by yourself. Okay? Thank you.